Hello and welcome to the 411 Sports World Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. 411, and with me tonight on our Crossing the Lines edition is the one and only Calculator.
Hello, Mr. 411. How's it going?
Man, everything's going great, Calculator, and welcome back. You know, we've both been on a brief vacation, and it's just so good to be back on the air. And it's time to pick up with the college football season. Man, things are starting to heat up. We're starting to get these weekly top four slating. So let's go ahead and dive into the big games for this upcoming weekend. Starting with Oklahoma State. They're hosting number 10 Baylor Saturday night in Stillwater, Oklahoma. This is a huge game, Just last season, Baylor is one of those teams, along with TCU, that was on the outside looking in, and so here's Oklahoma State knocking at the door this year, which is a big surprise to many of us. But they're going to be facing Baylor, and they're hosting them. And I want you to break down to the listeners who you have, covering this game this weekend as far as the point spread.
Okay. This particular game is actually one that they call a pick'em. So basically, you look at the two teams and you pick who you think is going to win this game. So when I looked at it, it's to the back end of the Big 12 beating up on each other edition. When I looked at last week, I did not like what I saw from Baylor in Waco. Between the injuries and the really good job Oklahoma Sooners did defensively, okay? With Baylor's quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, nicked up,
okay,
and no backup behind him, the quarterback run is not really an option for the Bears, okay? Baylor has 9 touchdowns in 26 drives the last 2 weeks, so the numbers do point out to the regression. There is also a huge edge both defensively and on special teams for the Cowboys. It didn't go well for Baylor last time in Stillwater, and I think the result will be the same this week. I love how quarterback J.W. Walsh and Mason Rudolph complement each other offensively for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I think the Cowboys win and host the Sooners in 2 weeks for a bedlam game with massive college playoff implications. So I'm thinking Oklahoma State wins, and actually wins kind of comfortably. I'm looking at when I look at it, I'm looking like at a 35-28, 35-31 matchup. But you say, hey, calculator, that's really close. Actually, I think it's going to be like a late touchdown by Baylor to kind of make it look more close than what it really is. I really expect Oklahoma State to dominate, really offensively, defensively, and then you have put the edge of special teams. I like Oklahoma State, and to have them as a pick'em at home, I think Oklahoma State Cowboys all day long against the Baylor Bears this weekend.
Wow. Well, I'm expecting the typical, Big 12, basketball game. So should be exciting, and that's one of those predictions right there. So anybody that was on the fence, calculator, I believe you push them in the right direction.
That's what I try to do.
And you do it well. So, and, I hope everyone takes heed to that. Now, we have another big matchup this weekend. It's kind of under the radar, but if you're trying to win friendly wagers, you really want to pay attention to this matchup. Texas A&M and Vanderbilt, an SEC battle. It's going to be in Nashville at 7:30. If you have the SEC network, which I do, DirecTV channel 611, I'm going to tune in and watch this. But you know what? I mean, Vanderbilt. Why Vanderbilt, Texas A&M calculated? I mean, you're looking at Vanderbilt, a team who can barely put points on the board, but they've been competitive here and there. But why this matchup?
Okay, this matchup is basically a trending type matchup where you have two teams trending in actually opposite directions. Okay, we go totally from an offensive perspective to a defensive perspective, right?
Okay.
Vandy has gone under the total in every FBS game this year, so expect another low-scoring game here. The Commodores have allowed 17, 9, 3, and 10 points respectively in their last 4 SEC games. Texas A&M, on the other hand, has been a huge disappointment, failing to cover in each of their last 4 games, twice as a favorite at 7 points or more. Turnovers have been the biggest issue, as the Aggies have turned it over at least 3 times, 4 times in the last 5 games, 10 interceptions, 10 of them being via interceptions. The Aggies' adjusted quarterback rating in that span is 37.5, which is considered average when you take the adjusted number into account. So with average quarterback play from the Aggies, them being a road favorite of a touchdown or more, going against a solid Vandy D, which is 7th nationally in defensive efficiency, it all adds up to taking Vandy and the 7 points they're getting from Vegas.
Wow. Okay. That was a very interesting way of looking at that, because, I wasn't even looking at it from that angle. But hey, Vandy.
A lot of people were saying, "Oh man, I'm telling you, Vandy has made better quarterbacks look not so good, and then they even get quarterbacks that are struggling. I mean, every person on the A&M that they put in the backfield has looked average at best. So Vandy will be able to, I think they'll take advantage. It'll be a slugfest type thing, but I'm thinking, I think A&M will win the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm thinking It's going to be something like a 20-17 type game. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I really like taking the home team with the 7 points and having a good defense behind me against an average offense. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, didn't Vanderbilt play Florida Gators pretty tough?
1 point.
On the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those guys can play defense. Now Vandy's quarterback stinks. Don't get me wrong, but they can keep that defense can keep it close enough to where they can score. Enough to stay in the game. Remember, they gave Georgia all they could handle. In another defensive slugfest. So I'm putting my money. I'm not necessarily putting the money on Vandy. I'm putting the money on their defense and them being at home.
Yeah, and the 7. I mean,
and the 7 points. I mean, you can't ignore a 7 point 7 points when you're at home.
Yeah, and I bet there's a lot of people out there. They're thinking, man, you know what? You want to bet with me on this matchup, on this game, and I get to Texas A&M. And they didn't want to think about that defensive trend, like you mentioned.
No, you got to look at that's trends is what makes you money. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully the fans for Vandy will hold up a sign with a van and a letter D.
Yes,
Van
sir.
D. That would be awesome. So, I'm going to tune in to watch Vandy and Texas A&M. So you just made that game very intriguing for me. And speaking of an intriguing matchup, this is one of those, if you just look at the name of the team, you're like, wow, I mean, this is it. But unfortunately, both teams have underachieved, in my opinion, this season. But the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and Miami Hurricanes, they're going to match up in the ACC tilt this weekend. And Miami has released their coach this season. Georgia Tech looks like they're not going to be a bowl team this year. And I'm sure everybody felt like they were, including myself. But there's still going to be some pride on the line and some friendly wagers. So, calculator, you can have at it. Why Georgia Tech and Miami? Okay,
now I'm picking this because I don't know what it is. I compare Georgia Tech of this year, the Yellow Jackets, kind of like that girlfriend, that on and off girlfriend that you have, the one that you she looks real good, and you want to go out with her, and then when you start going out with her, you think, dang, man, why am I going out with her? So you break up, and then some time goes by, and things calm down. It's like, man, why did we? Let's go back out again, and then of course again, you break up when you realize why you break. It's one of those things with Georgia Tech. The eye candy is good, right? And then time goes by, and it's like, let's try it again. Well, Georgia Tech has burned me so much this year. I bet on them twice. They lost, and then when I bet against them against Florida State, they won. So, but time has passed. We've been on vacation. So now I'm looking at the numbers, okay? So even before I saw this number at Georgia Tech +1, my hunch was that Georgia Tech would be a great play this week. And now they're getting a point. So my guess is that the line will move to Georgia Tech as a favorite as the week goes along. The Football Power Index says this game should be Georgia Tech -5. Now let's get this. Now, Miami's defense is not good, okay? The Canes were gutted by North Carolina last week and have allowed huge numbers on the ground to Duke, Clemson, Florida State, and even Florida Atlantic. I can't imagine many people. What's that?
And I saw that game between with Florida, with Miami and Florida in what is it,
Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, on a Friday night, calculator.
Yes, sir. And you know what? And I can't imagine many people will be in attendance Saturday for the final home game of the season. And it will create a poor atmosphere where the Jackets will simply go out and execute against a Miami team that may have tapped out at this point. Now remember, Georgia Tech isn't getting to a bowl, but it has lost one possession games to North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. The 3-7 straight-up mark is very deceiving, so I think Georgia Tech's going to go there. They have nothing to play for, but like you said earlier, pride. And I think Miami's going to actually play worse being at home this weekend. So I'm taking out all the bad blood I had against Georgia Tech this year, and I said, Tech, I'm going with you. Bring the last one home to me. Georgia Tech, I'd be giving up even if the line moves to -2. Once you get to -3, then you're looking at kind of staying away. But anything under -3, go with the Yellow Jackets this weekend.
Okay, go with the Jackets. You know, and before the season, I would have went with the Jackets on this matchup too. But
yes.
Yeah, but man, wow! I mean, not going to see a bowl game. I mean, wow! I mean. Neither team.
A lot of people were picking the Yellow Jackets to win their division and go up against either Clemson or Florida State, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah. Well, you know, it happens. Things happen when you get between the lines, and here on Crossing the Lines, you know, we give you the real information. So
yes,
there it is. Take Tech. Now the main event, Pac-12 matchup. We have Utah Utes. They're tied with USC for their division lead in the South. But they're going to battle UCLA. So this is a big matchup. There's a lot on the line here for the number 18 Utes, and I'll be tuning in for this one as well. And calculator, let's see, what is the spread for this matchup, and who do you have?
All right. Utah is actually at home giving up 2 points in here, okay? Now, this game seems pretty simple to me, all right? Which team do you trust more? Utah comes home after a weird loss to Arizona in Tucson, and the Bruins come in off of a gutting loss at Wazoo at home. So both teams are in a tricky spot here, all right? Especially seeing how they both have a chance to still play in the conference title game with some more work to do. I just think Utah's defense matches up well with the Bruins' offense. I also believe Kyle Winningham and his defensive staff can make things a little confusing for UCLA True Frost starting quarterback Josh Rosen, and what might be his toughest road start of the year. And if Rosen plays well, he's simply that good and deserves a look at first-team quarterback in the conference. But, hey, that defense is too tough. They're going to confuse the young freshmen. It's a road test. Utah, we saw what Utah can do at home, and you're giving up less than a field goal. So take the more experienced team, take the more physical team, take the home team, and give up the 2 points. Take the Utah Utes, take the Utes all the way against the UCLA Bruins this weekend.
Wow, Utah defense. So we're taking defense over the defense over the offense. All right.
Every day.
So far so good with your picks, man. I'm right on point with you as well. So if you had to give us a brief recap before we jump into the NFL picks, if you don't mind, calculator, please go over
absolutely. I'd say take Oklahoma State in an offensive showdown this weekend. They're playing at home against a banged-up team, Oklahoma State. It's a pick 'em right now. Take Oklahoma State with a straight-up win. I'm saying take the Commodores. You're getting 7 points. Hey, they might not lose, but when Vandy loses, they don't lose big. So take the 7 points that they're getting. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are currently +1. I think they have a straight-up win against the Hurricanes, and I think they win anything 3 and above. So even if the line moves, don't be too scared until it moves into the field goal territory. Take your Yellow Jackets this weekend, and the Utah Utes in that bruising defense against a freshman quarterback on the road. Yeah, they might not be a freshman right now, but he still doesn't have a full year under his belt. So take your Utah Utes, give up the 2 points, and make yourself some money.
There it is. All right. There you have it. Oklahoma State, Vandy, Georgia Tech, Utah. So that takes care of the college scene, and based on these results here over the weekend, we'll find out who's gonna crack the top four.
Absolutely.
There's gonna be a shakeup, and Oklahoma State has a great chance of making some noise here. So hopefully they can win that pick'em. On to the NFL. There's plenty of noise in the NFL right now. We have 2 undefeated teams in this league, but we have a surprise in the NFC North, and it's the Minnesota Vikings. All of a sudden, man, I mean, you had a team in the Packers that was undefeated, and now all of a sudden they're looking right over their shoulder. And here's the Minnesota Vikings. What do you have to give the listeners today about this matchup?
Okay, the reason I want to go over this is there's some interesting trends that popped up this week as I was doing some research. Okay, if you look, and this is we're gonna play a numbers game. We're gonna go a different direction. Instead of picking a favorite, an underdog, a road fave, a home dog, stuff like that, I want to look at point totals. If anybody's bet on an over/under, if you want to be involved with every single play of a game, an over/under is a way to get some action. Okay, if you look at the past 12 years, okay, the under, which is under the point total, has gone 1,566 to 1,590. All right? Mm-hmm. So simply betting the NFL under every game would not be profitable. But, hey, what if we could improve our odds? Okay, how could we get a better return on investment? So the way to do that is to concentrate just on high totals, right? So traditionally, the over has fared well in games with low totals, while the under has been profitable in games with high totals. The logic behind this trend seems quite apparent, as higher totals mean that more points must be scored to hit the over. Pretty simple arithmetic, right? So most bettors are familiar with key numbers for spread betting and realize that the final margin of victory is likely to be a multiple of 3 field goals or 7, which is, the number that you get with a touchdown and extra point. What those same bettors likely don't realize is there are also key numbers for over-under totals, okay? And I pulled up those numbers. So if you look at the past analysis, shows that between 37 and 44 were the most common data points, which shouldn't be too surprising to bettors who frequently see games finish with a final score of 20-17, 24-13, 24-20, or 27-17. So for that reason, I focused on closing totals of 44.5 or higher to eliminate all the low-scoring games to ensure the best value for a key number, okay? Past research has shown that divisional games are low-scoring because defensive has so much familiarity with opposing offenses. That edge is amplified late in the season when there are more game film and the teams have previously faced each other. So now when I look at that, I said, okay, basically I'm looking through the games. I said, where can I find high totals? So I looked and I wanted everything over 44.5. Okay, so I eliminated, and there were three games that had that total. Okay, well then I said, okay, let's drill down a little bit. What are they division games? And then the Minnesota Green Bay Packers matchup. I mean, it popped. It was in neon lights, right? The over/under is 45, so we're over that magic number of 44.5, and right. They're divisional foes who matched up with each other, right? That's so true. After winning their first 6 games of the season, the Packers have dropped their last 3 games, including a shocking upset last week to the Lions. With James Starks and Eddie Lacy both nursing injuries, the Packers have turned into a one-dimensional passing team. In fact, the Packers have attempted 109 passes over the past 2 games. Starks and Lacy are both expected to play this week, and that could be a significant development for underbettors. Historically, we have found there is less scoring in games featuring 2 good rushing teams. Running the ball is less likely to result in a big play and causes the clock to keep running, which of course would result in fewer possessions. Green Bay is currently allowing 116.2 rushing yards per game, and we expect the Vikings offense will feature a heavy dose of Adrian Peterson. In this NFC North showdown, bettors should feel confident pounding the under. So it fits all the criteria I was looking for. I had a number over 44.5. I have 2 divisional foes. And on top of that, both divisional foes are going to want to run the ball this weekend. So
right.
Pound the under. If you eat nachos, the first quarter will be over by the time you finish your meal. That's how quick that game's going to go.
Oh, wow.
So,
a lot of ball control there.
Absolutely. Adrian Peterson, Starks, and Lacey. They're going to be running all day long because the Packers saw what happens when Aaron Rodgers has to throw that many times. It's not a good thing, okay? And the Vikings, they will play a prevent-type defense. They will be inviting the Green Bay to run the ball because they know they have trouble. So I think that's going to, they might get 4 yards and then 3 yards and then possibly they're not going to go deep because, they're going to want to protect Green. Because there's even words out there that, Aaron Rodgers is hurt right now. What's the best way to protect your quarterback? Run the ball. Teddy Bridgewater has not been very good this year. Why have they been winning the games? Adrian Peterson, right? So you got to keep. I mean, what was the one game that I was so upset about the Vikings was that first game of the season where they tried to throw the ball all around and then they lost to the 49ers. Okay, that shows you how to lose the game. So what they're going to say, let's run Adrian Peterson and then let's let Teddy Bridgewater throw about 18 to 20 times a game. So,
right.
So that game is 45 points. Take the under.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, this could be like a 20 to 17 type game, So.
Yeah. Take the under. And the game is in Minnesota. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
sir.
yeah.
Yep.
That, to me, that helps out as well. So, yeah, I don't anticipate a shootout. This won't be it won't be an Aaron Rodgers versus Phillip Rivers type of game. So,
no.
Yeah, and man, AP cranked out 200 yards on the Raiders last week. So, yeah, this is all adding up to being under, man. So, I'm with you there, man. Okay, well, I definitely will be, placing my friendly wager, and I'll take that under 45. I'll take it all day long.
Yes, sir. Pound it.
Man, calculator. Once again, crossing the line. Another successful show.
Yes, sir.
Very exciting.
Hey, and 411, I appreciate you having me on such short notice. I know we've had some busy schedules lately, so I was glad we could fit this in.
Hey, look, we're going to do what we can, because the listeners have been writing. They've been sending the emails in to 411sportsworldpodcast@gmail.com, and they've been like, hey, Mr. 411, what's the 411 on the cross of the line?
Yes.
So I had to write everybody back, and let them know that we haven't forgotten. And, we just had a couple of things that have come up but we're definitely not going anywhere. So fans, 401 Sports World Podcast is not going anywhere. We have the NBA, shows coming up soon. We had a preview. And now we're, getting into the first month of the season, so we're going to do a recap of the first month, and we'll keep track every month on the NBA because there's a lot of things going on there. And I'm sure Calculator will have some lines there for you. And
absolutely.
So be ready for that. This show will upload on tomorrow, on November 20th. It will upload for you to listen to on YouTube. So get ready for that. Calculator, we have the college show that we have coming up and our fantasy football show coming up very soon as well. So fans, get ready. You're going to get a lot of the Calculator, a lot of calculations.
Yes, sir.
So we do have to make room for our sponsors now. But for everyone who listened today, on behalf of the Calculator, I'm Mr. 411. We're so glad that you were able to listen, and stay tuned for our future shows, and have a great evening.
Have a good night, everybody.